Hello everyone, and welcome. In this video, we'll be diving into the world of Power BI, focusing specifically on one of the most important concepts, slices and filters. This session is brought to you by ZoomInData, your space for learning business intelligence and data analytics. So, let's get started and understand how Power BI connects to different data sources and why this process is so essential in today's data-driven world. First question: what is a slicer, and how is it different from a filter? A slicer is a visual tool in Power BI that allows users to interactively filter data on a report page. It provides an easy-to-use interface, typically in the form of buttons, drop-downs, or checkboxes, for selecting specific values. A filter, on the other hand, is a more general mechanism to restrict data in a visual, page, or report, and it is usually applied through the filter pane rather than directly on the report canvas. Key difference: slices are more user-friendly and interactive, designed for dashboard viewers, whereas filters are often back-end settings used to control data visibility for visuals or reports. Slices can also be linked to multiple visuals, making them an interactive filtering tool, whereas filters generally affect the scope-defined, visual, page, or report, but are not as visually interactive. Second question: name and explain the three types of filters in Power BI. Visual level filters. These filters affect only a single visual on a report page. For example, if you apply a filter to a bar chart to show sales for one region, it does not affect other charts or tables. Page level filters. These filters apply to all visuals on a single page. For instance, filtering a page to show data for the East region will automatically update all visuals on that page. Report level filters. These filters affect all visuals across all pages of the report. For example, applying a report level filter for the current year will ensure every visual on every page reflects only that year's data. These filters allow flexible control over data visibility, from a single visual to the entire report, making Power BI reports highly interactive and customizable. Third question: how do visual level filters affect individual visuals? Visual level filters are applied only to the selected visual, meaning that the filter restricts the data displayed in that visual without affecting other charts, tables, or graphs on the page. They allow granular control over individual visuals, which is useful when you want a visual to display data differently from the rest of the report. For example, a bar chart may show only the top 10 selling products, while another visual on the same page may display all products. Visual level filters are often used for highlighting trends, comparisons, or specific segments of data within a single visual. Fourth question: how do you add a slicer to filter a table visual by a category? In Power BI, you can insert a slicer by selecting the Slicer visual from the Visualizations pane. Drag the field representing the category, e.g., Product Category, Region, into the slicer. The slicer will automatically display the unique values of the category, allowing users to select one or multiple values interactively. Once applied, the table visual connected to that field will update automatically, showing only the rows that match the selected category, providing a simple interactive filtering experience. Fifth question: how do you apply a visual level filter to show only top 10 products by sales? Select the visual, example a bar chart, you want to filter and open the filter pane. Drag the product field into the visual level filters section. Change the filter type to Top N and set N is equal to 10. using the sales field to define the ranking. Click Apply Filter, and the visual will now display only the top 10 products by sales, without affecting other visuals on the report page. Sixth question. Explain the difference between page level and report level filters in Power BI with examples. Page level filters are applied to all visuals on a single report page. They restrict data only for that page, leaving other pages unaffected. Example: filtering a sales dashboard page to show only the East region. All visuals, charts, tables, KPIs on that page will show East region data, while other pages remain unchanged. Report level filters are applied to all visuals across all pages of the report. They provide a global filter for the entire report. Example: filtering the report to show data for the year 2025. Every visual on every page will now display only 2025 data. Seventh question. How does Edit Interactions work between visuals when filters are applied in Power BI? Edit Interactions allows you to control how one visual affects other visuals on the same report page when a filter or slicer is applied. When enabled, each visual shows options like Filter, Highlight, or None, determining whether it reacts to selections in another visual. Filter updates the target visual to show only data relevant to the selection. Highlight emphasizes the selected data but keeps other data visible. None prevents the target visual from being affected. This feature helps in creating custom interactions, ensuring some visuals remain independent while others respond dynamically to user selections. Eighth question. How do you apply a page-level filter for a specific region across all visuals on a page? Open the Filter pane in Power BI and locate the Page Level Filters section. Drag the region field into the Page Level Filter area. Select the specific region you want to filter, e.g., East. All visuals on that page, charts, tables, KPIs, will now display data only for the East region, while other pages remain unaffected. This method ensures consistent data visualization for a particular subset across a single page. Ninth question. How do you apply a report level filter to show data only for the current year? In the Filter pane, locate the Report Level Filters section. Drag the date or year field into the Report Level Filter area. Use the filter options to select Current Year. Relative date filtering can be used for dynamic updates. Once applied, every visual on every page in the report will display data only for the current year. This is useful for creating report-wide time-sensitive dashboards without having to apply the filter individually on each page. 10th question. How do you use a slicer to filter multiple visuals simultaneously and explain the concept of filter context? Add a slicer visual to the report and drag the field you want to filter, for example product category, into it. Ensure the slicer is connected to all relevant visuals on the page. Interactions can be checked via Edit Interactions. Selecting a value in the slicer will update all connected visuals simultaneously, applying a filter context across the visuals. Filter context refers to the set of filters currently applied to a visual, determining the subset of data used for calculations in that visual. Example: if a slicer selects electronics, all visuals will only show data for electronics, and any DAX measures will be calculated within that filter context. 11th question. How does filter context affect DAX measures? Give an example. Filter context is the set of filters applied to a DAX calculation that determines what subset of data is used. It can come from visual level, page level, report level filters, or slicers. DAX measures respect the current filter context to compute results dynamically. Example: measure total sales equals sum of sales amount. If a slicer selects region equals East, the measure calculates total sales only for the East region instead of the entire dataset. Understanding filter context is essential for accurate calculations, especially when using calculate, all, or related functions in DAX. 12th question: how do multiple filters, visual, page, report, interact on a single visual? When multiple filters are applied, Power BI combines them using an AND logic, meaning only data meeting all filter conditions is displayed. Hierarchy of filters: visual level filter leads to affects only that visual. Page level filter leads to affects all visuals on the page. Report level filter leads to affects all visuals on all pages. Example: a visual level filter for product category equals electronics, a page level filter for region equals East, and a report level filter for year equals 2025 will show only electronics in the East region for 2025. This interaction allows granular and global control over how data is displayed in visuals. 13th question: how do you create a dynamic measure that changes based on slicer selection? Use DAX functions like switch or if combined with a parameter table to dynamically change measure calculations. Example: create a slicer with values sales and profit and a measure. Selected measure equals switch. Selected value of measure table measure, sales, sum of sales amount, profit, sum of sales profit. When a user selects sales or profit from the slicer, the measure value updates dynamically across connected visuals. Dynamic measures allow flexible reporting without creating separate visuals for each metric. 14th question: explain cross-filtering behavior between visuals with conflicting filters. Cross-filtering occurs when selecting data in one visual filters or highlights related data in other visuals. If visuals have conflicting filters, Power BI resolves them using filter context and relationships defined in the data model. Example: a slicer selects region equals East. A bar chart visual level filter selects region equals West. The bar chart will show only West data because visual level filters override slices for that visual. Understanding cross-filtering helps in designing interactive dashboards where visuals respond intelligently without showing conflicting data. 15th question: how do you resolve conflicts between visual level and report level filters? Visual level filters take precedence over page level or report level filters for that specific visual. To resolve conflicts, check edit interactions to control how slices or visuals affect each other. Adjust filter priorities to ensure the desired filter applies correctly. Use DAX measures with calculate and removefilters or all to override unwanted filter effects. Example: a report level filter for year equals 2025 conflicts with a visual level filter for year equals 2024. The visual will display 2024 data, while other visuals follow the report level filter. This ensures that specific visuals can display exceptions without disrupting the overall report filter logic. 16th question: what is slicer syncing in Power BI? Slicer syncing is a feature in Power BI that allows a single slicer to control filtering across multiple report pages. It enables consistent data filtering without having to recreate the same slicer on every page. Synced slices can be visible or hidden on different pages, but the filter selection remains consistent. This feature improves user experience by ensuring that page transitions do not reset slicer selections, making dashboards more interactive and cohesive. 17th question. Can all slices be synced across pages? Give reasons. Not all slices can be synced automatically. Only slices based on the same field or table can be synced across pages. Slices using different fields, calculated tables, or measures cannot be synced directly because Power BI requires a common column for consistent filtering. Hidden slices can still be synced, but visuals on pages without a visible slicer will respect the filter selection applied elsewhere. Understanding which slices can be synced is important for maintaining report consistency and avoiding filter conflicts. 18th question. How do you sync a slicer for region across two pages? Insert a slicer on page 1 and drag the region field into it. Go to the View tab, then click Sync Slices. A panel will appear showing all report pages. Select page 2 to sync the slicer. Choose whether it should be visible or hidden on page 2. After syncing, selecting a region on page 1 will automatically filter visuals on page 2 as well, ensuring consistent filtering across both pages. 19th question. Explain the difference between syncing and copying a slicer across pages. Syncing a slicer ensures that the slicer shares the same filter selection across multiple pages. Changing the selection on one page updates all synced slicers. Copying a slicer simply duplicates the visual on another page, but the filter selections are independent. Changing the slicer on one page does not affect the copied slicer. Syncing is ideal for consistent multi-page dashboards, while copying is useful for page-specific slices with independent selections. Proper understanding prevents conflicts in filter selections and ensures smooth user experience. 20th question. How do you sync a slicer across pages but make it visible only on one page? Add a slicer on page 1 with the desired field, example region. Open the Sync Slices panel and select the pages you want to sync. For page 2, or other pages, check the Sync box but uncheck the Visibility box. Now the slicer affects filtering on all synced pages, but it is only visible on the original page, keeping the dashboard clean while maintaining consistent filters. 21st question. How do you sync multiple slices, for example, region and category, and maintain consistent filtering across pages? Add multiple slices on page 1 for fields like region and product category. Open the Sync Slices panel and select all pages where you want each slicer synced. Ensure that the visibility and sync boxes are checked as required for each page. Once synced, selecting a value in either slicer will filter all connected visuals across pages, maintaining a consistent and multi-dimensional filter context for the entire report. 22nd question. What are potential performance issues with syncing multiple slices across many pages? Increased rendering time. Syncing multiple slices across several pages can slow down report loading because Power BI recalculates filters for all connected visuals whenever a selection changes. High memory usage. Large datasets combined with multiple synced slices can consume significant memory, impacting report performance on both Power BI desktop and the service. Complex filter context. Multiple synced slices create a complex filter dependency, which can lead to delayed or unexpected visual updates. Best practice: minimize the number of synced slices and only sync essential fields, or use report-level filters for global filtering instead of excessive syncing. 23rd question. How do you use synced slices combined with cascading slices? Add a primary slicer, example country, and the secondary cascading slicer, example state, on the same page. Sync the primary slicer across pages using the Sync Slices panel. Configure the cascading slicer to filter its options based on the primary slicer selection using visual level filtering or DAX measures. Now, selecting a country in the synced slicer will automatically update the cascading slicer across pages, showing only relevant states, and all connected visuals will respond accordingly. 24th question. How do you handle a scenario where a synced slicer filters only certain visuals on each page? Use the Edit Interactions feature to control which visuals respond to the synced slicer. On each page, select the slicer, then click Format and Edit Interactions. For each visual, choose whether it should be filtered, highlighted, or unaffected by the slicer. This ensures that the synced slicer applies only to desired visuals, allowing flexible filtering across different page layouts. 25th question. How do hidden synced slices affect filtering on different pages? Hidden synced slices still retain their filter selections and affect all visuals on synced pages, even if they are not visible to the user. This allows you to clean up the dashboard layout by hiding slices while keeping consistent filtering across multiple pages. Users can interact with visible slices on one page, and the hidden synced slices on other pages automatically update connected visuals without cluttering the report. This technique is useful for master slices that control multiple pages without showing redundant slices to the end user. 26th question. What are cascading slices? Provide an example. Cascading slices are slices that dynamically filter each other based on selection, meaning the choices available in one slicer depend on the selection made in another. They help maintain hierarchical filtering, for example, region leads to country leads to city, so that users see only relevant options. Example, when selecting India in the country slicer, the state slicer will display only Indian states, not states from other countries. This improves report usability and eliminates invalid or irrelevant slicer choices. 27th question. Create cascading slices. Country leads to state. Place two slices on the report, one for country, one for state. Ensure your data model has a proper relationship between country and state, for example, a geography table. Power BI automatically applies a filter from country to state using the one-to-many relationship. When you select a country, the state slicer updates to show only states belonging to that selected country, creating a cascading effect. 28th question. How does Power BI implement cascading slices internally? Power BI relies on data model relationships, typically one-to-many relationships, to propagate filter context from one slicer to the next. When a user selects an item in the first slicer, Power BI applies row-level filtering on related tables, which updates the options in the dependent slicer. Cascading behavior is not a separate feature but a result of the cross-filtering direction and relationship integrity in the model. If relations are missing, inactive, or set to the wrong filter direction, cascading slices won't work correctly. 29th question. Can cascading slices work across multiple pages? Explain. Yes. Cascading slices can work across pages, but only if the slices are synced using the Sync Slices pane. When synced, a selection made on page 1, for example, country equals Canada, filters the dataset and affects the cascading slices on page 2 as well. However, the cascading behavior still depends on the data model relationships, not page layout. You must ensure that both slices exist, visible or hidden, on each page for cascading to be consistently applied. 30th question. Create 3-level cascading slices. Country leads to state leads to city. Add 3 slices on the report for country, state, and city. Ensure your data model has a clear hierarchy. Country leads to state, one-to-many. State leads to city, one-to-many. Power BI uses these relationships to cascade filters. Selecting a country restricts states, and selecting a state restricts cities. This allows fully dynamic filtering through multi-level geography, showing only valid and related values at each level. 31st question. How do you implement cascading slices using DAX measures? You can create DAX measures that control the visibility of slicer values using techniques like isFiltered, selected value, and has one value. A common method is to create a filtering measure that returns 1 for valid combinations and then apply it as a visual level filter on the dependent slicer. Example: you create a measure that checks whether the selected country contains a valid state, and filter the state slicer to show only those rows where the measure equals 1. This is used when relationships do not exist or when you want custom cascading logic independent of the data model. 32nd question. How do you combine cascading slices with report-level filters dynamically? Report-level filters act as a global constraint, so cascading slices only work within the filtered subset of data. You can use DAX to detect report-level filters, for example, checking all selected, or isFiltered, and adjust cascading logic accordingly. For example, a report-level filter such as year equals 2024 will limit all cascading slices, country leads to state leads to city, to values only from 2024. Dynamic behavior occurs when slices update based on both the user's cascading inputs and the overarching report-level filter, creating more contextual filtering. 33rd question. What are potential pitfalls of combining cascading and synced slices? If slices are synced across pages, cascading can become unpredictable because filter context flows across pages, affecting dependent slices even when not visible. Syncing a parent slicer but leaving the child slicer unsynced results in a broken cascading chain, causing mismatched or empty slicer values. Performance can degrade since synced slices recalculate filters across pages while cascading slices also apply filter propagation, leading to high model recalculation load. Hidden synced slices may unintentionally override the visible cascading slices, confusing users when slices seem stuck or not showing data. 34th question. How do you test cascading slices when your dataset's hierarchy changes? Validate that your data model relationships still work when new hierarchical values, new states, new cities, renamed items, appear in your dataset. Test whether each slicer still filters correctly by selecting a value at each level and observing updates in dependent slices and visuals. Ensure no orphan data exists, e.g., cities without states or states without countries, because this breaks cascading behavior. If hierarchy changes frequently, consider using data validation rules, bridge tables, or DAX-based cascading logic to maintain stability. 35th question. What are dynamic filters, and how are they different from static filters? Dynamic filters change based on user interaction, such as slicer selection or parameters, allowing reports to update automatically in real time. Static filters are predefined and fixed, such as visual level filters that don't change unless manually modified. Dynamic filters create interactive and flexible reports, enabling users to explore multiple scenarios without modifying filter settings. Static filters are useful for enforcing permanent constraints, e.g., always show data for the current business unit. 36th question. How do relative date filters show data for the last 30 days? Select the visual or page, then open the Filters pane and choose the date field to filter. Set the filter type to relative date and specify in the last 30 days. Power BI will always calculate the date range relative to today's date, making the filter dynamic. This is commonly used in dashboards that require rolling window analysis such as the last 7 days, last month, or last quarter. 37th question. How does a table visual get filtered dynamically based on slicer selection? Add a slicer to the report using the field intended for filtering, such as category or product. The slicer automatically operates as a dynamic filter and affects the table visual through cross-filtering. When an item is selected in the slicer, the table displays only the matching rows and updates instantly. Ensure that proper relationships exist in the data model, because without a relationship, the slicer will not filter the table. 38th question. How can a slicer be used as a dynamic filter for multiple visuals? A slicer automatically affects all visuals using related fields, as long as relationships exist in the data model. Users can filter multiple charts, tables, and KPI visuals simultaneously by selecting values within the slicer. You can control how each visual responds using edit interactions, filter, highlight, or ignore. This makes slices powerful tools for building interactive dashboards and page-level exploration experiences. 39th question. How is a parameter table used to switch dynamically between different metrics? Example: switching between sales, profit, and quantity. Create a parameter table, a disconnected table, with metric names such as sales, profit, and quantity. Use a slicer to allow the user to select the desired metric. Create a DAX measure using a switch statement. Selected metric equals switch selectedvalue metric table metric sales total sales profit total profit quantity total quantity. Use this dynamic measure across multiple visuals so that all visuals update automatically based on the metric selected. 40th question. How do dynamic filters interact with DAX measures and calculated columns? Dynamic filters change the filter context, which directly affects DAX measures, because measures are recalculated every time filters change. Calculated columns, however, do not respond to dynamic filters, because they are computed once during data refresh, not at query time. Measures use functions like calculate, filter, and all selected to react to dynamic slicer selections and adjust results instantly. This means that dynamic filtering works perfectly with measures but is not compatible with calculated columns, which cannot reflect real-time slicer choices. 41st question. How do you combine dynamic filters with cascading slices to create fully interactive dashboards? Use cascading slices like country then state then city to control hierarchical filtering, ensuring dependent slices update based on parent choices. Add dynamic filters such as top N, metric selector, or date range filter, enabling users to control what metric or time frame visuals display. Use DAX measures built with selected value, is filtered, and all selected, so visuals adjust live based on both cascading selections and dynamic slices. The combination allows users to drill down geographically, cascading, and simultaneously apply dynamic ranking or metric changes, creating a fully interactive multi-dimensional dashboard. 42nd question. What is dynamic top-end filtering using DAX, and how does it differ from static top-end filters? Dynamic top-end filtering uses DAX plus slices to let users choose the top-end value during runtime, top 5, top 10, top 20, etc. Static top-end filters use the built-in visual level top-end filter, which is fixed and cannot be changed by users. Dynamic top-end is implemented using DAX with RANKX and a disconnected table, allowing user-driven rankings that update in real time based on slicer selections. Static top-end is simple but inflexible, while dynamic top-end enables fully interactive, customizable sorting and ranking across multiple visuals. Thank you for watching this session. If you have any questions, you are welcome to contact ZoomInData through our website, email, or phone. We're always here to support your learning journey. See you in the next video.